Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ramakrishna Monastery. Questions like, what is the nature of God? Have you ever asked yourselves? What is God? His nature? The meaning of religion? The influence of religion in our lives? What is faith and its application? How do we approach God? The study of the answer of all these questions is called theology, as you well know. And today we have Swami Satyamayananda here with us. He's the assistant minister of the Vedanta Society of Southern California, and he will dive deep into this concept in today's context. Is this the decline of this questioning of all these fundamental questions? Whither theology is the topic today. Welcome, Swami. Or whither.
Thank you, Dhyana Yogananda. It's given me a rather task. Yes, like the Swami mentioned, whither theology. Yeah. Means, just to put it in perspective, to wither, to atrophy, to be desiccated, to dry, to shrivel. Is theology drying out? Or the other word is wither. Where is archaic usage, whither goest thou? Where is theology? So you can use both the words. Religion has been an extremely powerful force in molding human minds and, as an extension, human societies. Now, I'm not talking about religion in the sense it started some couple of thousand years ago. No. That innate instinct in every person to know what is a truth constitutes religion. And I'm not going to speak of theology as delineated by one particular religion. Every religion has its theology. Okay. So what is theology? The systematic study of the nature of God and the nature of beliefs is called theology. This so much is kind of good. But there are two words, very important words. One is theos and the logos. The word theos, Greek, becomes Deus, Latin. You see? And in other languages, Dios, Spanish and all these. And in old Sanskrit, it is Devas. You see the connections? It seems this is the branch of the Indo-Aryan group of languages. And there are these words, cognate words, that you can see all over Indo-European languages. Where we come to logos, this is spoken about, kind of just translated as the word. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. We all know this in St. John's Gospel. He starts with this. But by the time St. John wrote this, it was an ancient Greek concept, the logos. It has a tremendously deep philosophical, you can say, implication. What does logos mean? Harmony, wisdom, order, knowledge, all the, you can say, beautiful words associated with harmony, associated with truth. That is the logos. It's not just simply a word. In Sanskrit, we don't have a cognate word of logos, but the similar meaning is sphota, that is the primeval, you can say, vibration, called the first impulse from where creation arose. The meanings are similar. In this case, the words are dissimilar. But, of course, we get the idea. Theology, in the beginning, started out as a branch of philosophy, without any qualifying adjectives. This particular religion's theology and that religion. And as it kept on developing, it veered away from philosophy. And the fundamental difference between theology and philosophy is, as I say, theology is in possession of truth. Philosophy is the quest for truth. Okay. Now, as theology developed, there are so many inter and intra, you can say, branches of theology. If I start reeling out the number of branches of theology, it will make my mind reel and your mind reel as well. So we don't want any person's mind reeling. We want clarity. Yeah, kind of, just like, they have been studying this nature of God and the nature of beliefs. But we put all the different theologians together and ask them to agree. Well, you're going to have, you know what, a shouting match. And if it doesn't stop there, we'll have something more. Why? If theology is in possession of truth, as they say, and they have built it, the whole structure, on this basis, why is the dispute? That means their reading of truth is not complete. And on this incomplete perception of truth, they have built these huge superstructures. So much for theology. Okay. So theology is, as I say, is what a person believes in. Yeah. Religion is, well, how many of you have studied theology? But we consider ourselves, a little religious, 5%, 10%, 50%, whatever. Because we are born in a religion, etc. Religion is something that you put into practice in your daily life. A theologian may not be religious, or a religious person may not be a theologian. Somehow, theology and religion have become compartmentalized. There are tenuous connections, but then they are drifting apart. Well, that's the difference between, broadly, religion and theology. Swami Vivekananda, he loved to crack jokes and laugh. And when he was in the US, I think probably in Chicago, somebody told him a nice joke. And he used to relate this joke to everyone and laugh and laugh and laugh. So he said there was a preacher, those preachers who preach hell and brimstone and fire and all that, So he was speaking about the creation of this world and how Adam was created, and God, he fashioned him out of clay, and obviously he had to put water in and kind of molded the clay, and then after he spent a lot of time, because he was kind of taking a selfie, as they say. In those days there was no phone, so he kind of made it. So it's made in his own image. So after he did Adam, and he was pretty pleased, he takes that clay image and sticks it up against a fence in order to dry. Clay is wet and kind of. So poor Adam was stuck, leaning against a fence. So there's a guy in the congregation, somebody like you all sitting here. Hey, wait there, preacher. Who made that fence? So the preacher also was kind of nonplussed. Saying, hey, you Joe, don't be asking such questions. You'll be smashing all theology. This is the idea. You don't ask inconvenient questions. You'll be smashing all theology. So theology started off with the premise, yes, we have this truth, and this is what is the explanation. And we have commentaries and dissertations and theses, and thousands of people have spent thousands of years in monasteries and seminaries and producing books and theses and dissertations written on original theses and dissertations. And they are filling libraries, the works. Well, sometimes you feel this may be a kind of just a wasted effort. And as we have seen, the moment you challenge truth, like when you challenge yourself, you become a better person. Or you put up your defenses, you harden your stance, and become, as they say, fanatical. So either way, so when theology is challenged, when it met other, as they say, theologies, it was challenged. And they put out, instead of absorbing things, they put out some more books in defense. And that became the apologia, that is the apologetics. They kind of defending the truths. It's old St. Augustine's, you can say. It began with that apologia. So we have these young minds, monks especially, and they kept on studying and studying diligently, copying text and spending the time. Theology, as we know, they crystallized into a belief system. I believe, so and so and so and so and so. You have to believe. Or it's apostasy. In some religions, apostasy is punishable by death. You can't question it. So, Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Grantha Granthi, that is, books are like knots. Okay. It's a knotted affair. And he also says, well, if you squeeze an almanac that predicts rain, you're not going to get a drop of water. Truth is not in books. That's the idea. And even St. Paul, he says, not the letter, but the spirit. For the letter killeth, and the spirit gives life. Okay? So even St. Paul, who's supposed to have, you can say, molded early Christianity, he speaks about take the spirit of the scriptures, not just the letters. So, wither theology, well, it's already withering. We are in the middle of it. You can see empty seminaries, people are coerced into studying the scripture, theology. And there are some who kind of make it a kind of a career. And once you kind of study for a few, it's not years, it takes decades. Because the literature has gone so vast, it's just not possible to study it in a couple of years. Yeah, I'm graduate or a postgraduate. No, nothing like that. That is 20, 25 years people are studying, and they cannot say that, yeah, we know everything about theology. So like I said, yet with all the studies, it has not really helped mankind, because these theologies were behind so many religious wars, genocides, inquisitions, hatred. People have become kind of homeless, orphans, widows. Imagine the great benefit that religion, which had conferred upon humanity. Now let's look at it like it's never started 2,000 years ago. It's saying suddenly God suddenly decides, oh, these guys are moving about, they need some laws and some codes or some commandments. No. Humanity was here for a few million years. And that innate search that conferred the culture, the mind's kind of expansion, had now become detrimental. So we've had and we are still having innumerable conflicts based on theologies. If you look at the scripture, religion, you can see, take a bird's eye view and saying, kind of, they are speaking about the same thing in different languages and in different styles. You don't need to fight over it, but we have been fighting. This has kept reasonable people away from this kind of tainted religion. Religion has got its hands stained with blood. The blood of humankind, the ones they were supposed to give them eternal, everlasting life. So, as we have said, theology is what possesses truth. Well, that is now disputed. So we have what other factors are contributing to people leaving theology away. Politics. Politicians are using religion or religious fervor amongst people to further their own, you can say, ends. So you have politicians with a religious speak and religious people, they're with a political speak. These two forces have become married together, and these two forces are extremely powerful, religion and politics. And that has created all the confusion. Oh yes, that was a big mistake. When these founding fathers, they separated the church from the state, they knew what they were doing. Because they saw, they had the insight to see what's the trouble. But then, like all good things in life, come together. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. That has another kind of detrimental effect on religion. Theology stopped evolving. Humanity has been evolving religious concepts from its earliest ages, from animism to totemism to fetishism, And slowly and slowly, we used to worship trees and stones and everything, dawn and the sunrise and sunset. Everything was alive. Yet we started building higher and higher concepts about divinity. And that is what the human mind is. The human mind is evolving. Oh yeah, everything evolves. At the same time, we look around, it's a fact here in the universe, in our bodies and in our minds and everywhere. And yet, that's a theory. That's not been proved. Well, it is. So we stopped at a place and made these conceptions of God static, crystallized. This is it. No more. And then it became dogma. And as we know, it became dogmatic and then fundamental and then fanatical. We have two beautiful dogs here. You probably have seen them. Whenever we come here, they jump about, they're happy. Swami Vivekananda said, you must have a kind of a canine instinct. Dogs can recognize you in whichever apparel or clothes you wear. You're the same person. Hey, this is the same guy. Say, he's wearing a brown kind of color today. Last time he came with something pink. Different, no? If the dog can recognize the same person, why can't we recognize that the same God that all religions are speaking about? No, this is my God, this is your God. If you don't believe what I believe, you're going to get barbecued. And not for a day. Okay, for eternity. I'll say, I don't want to go in your barbecue. I want to go somewhere else, in someone else's barbecue. Because the idea of the punishment element came in. Theologians, when the moment you say, I have truth, I become the moral guide and I dictate what morality is. Society has kind of veered away from this. We don't want that kind of morality anymore. Bronze Age moralities. Yeah. We have to evolve higher and higher ideas about morality, about empowerment. As science is developing, growing, we are getting more and more clearer conceptions of the universe. If you tell a theologian, and the earth is 13.8 billion years ago, sorry, that's wrong. That's heretical. That's rubbish. It started 6,200 years, something like that, in a place called Iraq, somewhere, the Garden of Eden there. Bishop Asher, he calculated according to the genealogies found in the Bible, it started something like more than 6,000. But what about the dinosaur bones there? Oh, that's a false. They never stayed along with the other pursuits of truths. And as a result, what happens is, science, as we know, is impersonal. And morality, do you want somebody with a rod standing there to make you moral? Then that's not morality. That's keeping you down through fear. So those who say we have the divine truth, they become moral judges and moral guides, and they become moral juries and moral, you can say, punishers. So that punishment element is another thing that is keeping people away from it. All this hellfire and brimstone, God, no. That won't do. Not in today's age. Just impossible. So are we out of the woods yet? Swami Vivekananda says, even if you have a monotheistic idea of God, make him the most benevolent person, the most moral person. Is a person somewhere, I don't know where. And I'm not going to tell you also. But that's not explaining the universe. What does the scientist do? He studies nature through nature itself, from the thing itself. He does not, or she does not, bring extraneous agents to explain something. The moment you bring in extraneous agents to explain everything in this universe, you have swerved away from truth. You have to explain things from the nature of the thing itself. And that's what science is doing. Now that's why it's called a new religion. So much for theology. So what happens is, to come down to a little, you can say, sensible explanation. There are two basic instincts in every human mind: the intrinsic and the extrinsic. This basic human instinct, that is orientation, it's a subjective orientation. It has been with humanity for millions of years. It's nothing new. The intrinsic subjective orientation is, I will live religiously. I want to know the truth. Swami Vivekananda says, if theology or dogma stands in your way of truth, renounce it. This is intrinsic. I want to know whether God exists or no. The other extrinsic is, a person uses religion. One is, the person lives religion. Another person uses. He'll use the community, the culture, the rituals, the language. That person is using it to enrich oneself. That's an extrinsic. Most of us fall not exactly on these two poles, there's polarity, but somewhere on the continuum. All of us. Sometimes we really want to live religion. Sometimes, but we need a community, we need these rituals, we need these songs and hymns, and we need jingle bells, and we need Santa Claus, and jump. Then the child grows up and saying, is there something like Santa Claus? Oh no, but it's part of celebration. Come on. And that person is fine, okay, let's go. So that is one, intrinsic and extrinsic. So we are on the continuum. When you start questioning, it is something called, you are exiting your domain of comfort. You have a comfort zone and you've got to exit. You've got to see what exactly it is. So in Judaism, there's something called off the derech, off the path. You step out of that path that you're in to begin questioning. And the questioning becomes something like an exit. But you have a door here and then you exit. But then when you exit, that's not the final thing. You exit somewhere out in a larger space. So those intrinsic people who seek to know the truth, they step out of that path. This is what's happening with theology today. People are stepping out of the path, asking questions, because they want to live religiously. They don't want the cultural trappings and everything else associated with religion as religion. No. So much for So, Swami Vivekananda used to quote Thomas A. Kempis. I'm sure some of you have heard of Thomas A. Kempis. No? Okay. Imitation of Christ? Yeah, there. Here, Swami Vivekananda had even translated parts of this Imitation of Christ. It's one of those really remarkable, very deep books with tremendous insights. In fact, I would say that after the Bible, this book itself, Imitation of Christ, has inspired millions and millions of people. And I remember when we had come to become monks, one of the first books that was recommended is read this book, Imitation of Christ. So he says, Thomas A. Kempis, he was a monk in a monastery which is in Netherlands. Now Netherlands, it was in Germany before that, in the 15th century. O God, you who are truth, make me one with you in love. I am often wearied by the many things I hear and read. You is all that I long for. Let the learned be still. Let all creatures be silent. You alone speak, and I will hear. This is that inner voice that's kind of muffled with all the distractions. Theology. So to come back to the word theology, well, as we say, theos, Dios, Dios, Devas, this is all one word. What does Devas mean? In Sanskrit, the shining, bright, luminous ones. That is what is called the Devas. Translated as gods. Logos, well, as I mentioned, it's the divine wisdom implicit in the universe. I think we can agree on this. It's the ground from where everything has emerged. It is that wisdom is implicit in everything. This was the first conceptions of the soul. The religions had no conceptions of the soul at all because they were looking outside. They wanted an external agent that is answerable to my life and to everything around. The old Babylonians had something called a double, Sumerians in Babylon. Even the old Egyptians had something called the double. There was me, and there's something which is like me. And that's why there was so much solicitude in preserving this. If this is harmed in any way, that will be harmed. We find the idea of double in most ancient cultures. That was the conception of the soul. The Greeks and the ancient Indians took it one step further. It's not a double. It is something that's implicit in you, the logos, the ground, the divine wisdom, the knowledge, the luminosity. Devas, the luminosity is the logos, that which shines within you, that which you embody, which everything in this universe embodies, is the logos. And it manifests as the cosmos. You know what's cosmos? Cosmos is order. Everything is ordered. Everything is systematic. Everything is beautiful. And the cosmos arises from what is called chaos. Everything is chaotic, disorderly. Well, the original meaning of the word chaos was, it's a ground from which cosmos arises, actually. The field of potential. Because if you see in our lives, chaotic, but out of that we draw some kind of order out of it. If you are emotional wrecks, or you can say whatever, spiritual wrecks, we want to make some sense out of that chaos that we see. Chaos is fundamental. Cosmos is fundamental. This is nothing but the logos. That is what the truth, the wisdom, the ground, the reality which everyone embodies. So much. Now we know what it is like. Yeah. Now what? Well, it's simple as that. This was the original meaning of theology. Now you orient your life according to that theology, to the logos. Now how do you do that? Orient yourself to the truth. Now you don't need the scriptures and other theological books as props. You are sufficiently strong enough to stand on your own feet and to know yourself. This has been the basis of Greek philosophy, and all everything follows. And they say that Western philosophy is nothing but end notes to Plato's philosophy. Yeah. In India, as you said, the logos took on the aspect of Swami Vivekananda. In the beginning, there was something called the Hiranya Garbha, the golden wound, or the cosmic mind. It first manifested itself as the word or sphota or sound, and then as the sensible universe. So everything that we see is a manifestation of that underlying ground, that cosmic reality. So this is called the sound Brahman, Nad Brahman. What's that? Om. That's symbol. That's a symbol. So behind every phenomena there is a meaning. There is no object in this universe which does not have a meaning. That is knowledge. So these three things, sound or symbol, the meaning behind it, and the knowledge that is behind that meaning. These three things are actually one. We only keep our mind sometimes on the symbol, and we miss out the meaning of things as well as the knowledge of it. So this whole universe embodies that divine knowledge. And how do I go about it? You've got to manage. Swami Vivekananda said, the goal is to manifest this divine within. Yeah. And how do you do that? By orienting yourself to yourself. And what am I? You are that logos, that truth, that divine wisdom. That is what you are. Well, somebody was telling me that I am so and so. That is just an external kind of coating, a veneer. You are much, much more deeper than you ever thought of yourself. That's because you were distracted by all the various theologies squabbling with each other. It obscured your reality. And you've been trying to find your reality in books. Swami Vivekananda says, in books and temples vain thy search. Thine only is the hand that holds the rope that drags thee on. There's no one else responsible for you but yourself. No God, no angel, no devil, no Satan. Yeah, people loved to bring in all that devils and the Satans and the jinns and all the kind of, all the imps and the whole universe was full of these people doing mischief. Oh no, that wasn't necessary. And it became so much that there was a branch of studies called demonology. You study demons. You, by your studies, have made them real. And you have been all the time running about in search of truth. There it was staring at you. All the time it was there with you, implicit. And if you can live that implicit search, that life, step out of that path that you have, that others had chalked out for you, others have delineated for you, and begin questioning. And when you begin questioning, you will live for religion. This is the Logos. So orient your thoughts, words, and deeds with truth. You manifest the Logos. And as you keep on manifesting the Logos, that eternal reality, which is implicit in you, me, and everybody, will manifest itself. You'll find yourself immortal, eternal, blissful, ever-existent, and consciousness. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. We have some time. I can take some questions. If you are still inquisitive after this.
Swami, any questions? Comments?
Thank you for the lecture. Do you think that sometimes if someone starts off with the extrinsic part, like wanting, because extrinsic also means wanting to fit into the culture or environment, do you think that sometimes trying to fit into the extrinsic leads to the intrinsic?
Yes, because it's a continuum. But you travel down that continuum. And then when you come down here, then you understand, yes, because we are creatures of culture, you see. We need culture because apart from all these genes and which defines us, no, it is the external world also that also contributes to our mental and physical, you can say, makeup. So, yeah, we are born, like Swami Vivekananda says, it's good to be born in a church, but bad to die there. So, keep on growing. And that is what, like I said, step out of the path, start questioning. Yeah, but don't don't upset people. Because you had enough of religious squabbles and fights for 2,000 years and more. So this will be a personal journey. Don't try to convince others, try to convince yourself. Then you'll be living intrinsically. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Swami.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Swamiji, the concept of logos, would you say that dharma or Sanatana Dharma is closest to logos? Because there's nothing in Christian theology that connects with dharma.
Dharma is the meaning of, it's now an English word anyway. It comes from the root dhri, to hold. Everything that holds you together is dharma. Like you have the dharma of air, that is to blow. The dharma of fire is to burn. Everything has its specific nature. Its intrinsic nature, as they say. That's called dharma. Now, Hinduism is called the religion eternal. It's translated dharma is not religion really. Religare, it's an old, you can say, Latin word that which binds people together in a kind of community. There are various kind of other meanings to it. So, but we have something called dharma. There are three concepts I would like to place before you. One is Ritam. Ritam is the cosmic order, similar to something like the logos. Okay. From Ritam comes Satyam, truth. Truth is there, everywhere. You know it. But when you implement that truth, it becomes dharma. I think that's clear? Yeah. So anything that holds you together, most of us are so disintegrated, so fragmented. A thought or a feeling or an emotion arises and then leads us astray. That which we wanted, we got it, and that is now destroying us. It's always like that. So when you see something that is destroying you, eating you into your vitals, know that that's not dharma. But when something integrates you, makes you whole, makes you strong, that is dharma. That's which holds. And today we are talking about integration. Today psychology says that we are a cluster of sub-personalities. And all these sub-personalities are very tenuously held by a kind of overarching kind of identity. Oh yeah, all of us have got this fragmentation inside. And sometimes they separate. And that is the big problem. Multiple personality disorders, etc., etc., etc. We're kind of acting weird or something. All this kind. So we need always something that's integrative. It may not sound religious or it may not sound philosophical, but whatever you do, if it integrates you, if it integrates your family, if it integrates your society, that is dharma. And that should be followed. Okay? Because what happens, there are two types of people. One is the makers and the other the breakers. Shakers, breakers. You need a different type of mindset to be a builder. Creative people are few, but they really build things up. And humanity, you can see, benefited by. There are others who are the breakers. They break things up. You say, you give a madman a hammer and then you let him loose and see what happens. He or she is going to kind of keep on breaking things. Not going to build anything up. So try to have this building up mindset, the creative mindset, that which brings things together, makes things new. And if you can do that, that will hold everything together.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Questions?
Well,
Interesting topic, Mother.
no, it kind of, Sri Ramakrishna says, the cow keeps on kind of, eating grass, and then it goes quietly to a place, and then it kind of brings that all what it has eaten and chews the cud, as they say. So ruminating, you ruminate it. So, and then slowly, then you'll be able to understand some of the things. Actually, I have not said anything that you do not know. I've only strung it up in a kind of in a particular kind of order. And that's the idea. So learn to string things up in a kind of a sequence, and you'll find you're better at it. Om, peace, 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 in the name of the Lord.